Heyo everybody, Haku here with my live reaction or read through for Tower of God chapter 632 or season 3 episode, hold on, what episode we're at? Episode 215, season 3 episode 215. I'm excited to read, as I always am. Tower of God's been good for the past couple of weeks. To be honest with you, I think, me personally, sorry I almost dropped my mouse, that's why I kind of jolted there. I think that the week before last week, to me, was better than last week. I don't think I need to do another super long Haku intro because I feel like after last week's chapter and during last week's chapter, I talked a lot about last week's chapter. I feel like I've talked a lot about this content. V was again in the thumbnail for this one, so I think we're going to continue with this flashback. Hopefully we see some more interactions between the team in the past, because really, we haven't seen a lot of that, to tell the truth, in the past two chapters. Like, we've seen a little bit of them interacting, but there wasn't really much downtime for them. They were in crazy situation after crazy situation, and so we didn't really get to see too much of the team dynamics. We got to see a lot. I don't want to downplay what we did get, but getting even more would be very, very, very cool. I'd love to see that. And will we see stuff like that in this flashback, given that the purpose of this flashback is to show Traumerei's sin or whatever? And I saw some people bringing up, why then the first part of the flashback? And I was saying, oh, I think it might be because of the revolution and evolution stuff and it bringing evil into the tower. But people were bringing up that was kind of more of V's decision. And I like the idea that it is sort of a original sin type deal where Traumerei talked at the end of last chapter when he was thinking to himself, oh, the tower made us cruel, crueler than we could have expected. But the God of Guardians lookalike guy said that, they'd be making the evil in the tower stronger if V chose to share the power, have evolution and revolution go on in the tower. And that might be, again, like part of it. It might be that, maybe the tower wouldn't have been as harsh. Maybe the tests wouldn't have been as crazy. Maybe the decisions they had to make wouldn't have been as brutal if not for the evil in the tower getting stronger. Maybe they made their own journey even harder by, allowing evolution to occur. So there's also been things they said in the past about life flourishing as they went up the tower. What does that mean? Were they there when the first humans started to come about? It feels kind of weird if they were, but maybe at this point it's possible. Also, the God of Guardians lookalike guy. Now that after last week's chapter, we didn't have any talk or any confirmation about him being from the workshop, any talk about him going on to the Hell Train. We just kind of had what happened there, and we left it for now. I don't think that's the God of Guardians that was created by the workshop that's on the Hell Train. I think that this was actually a different guy, and maybe the God of Guardians on the Hell Train was maybe to look like this guy. Plus, God of Guardians on the train didn't seem like he could do what this guy could do. This guy did some, tower-changing system stuff. So he's, administrator level, I feel like. He could just be some sort of other administrator that we haven't heard of yet. Head on human form, I highly doubt. But yeah, he could just be an administrator, because who else would be powerful enough to make such a grand sweeping change to, again, the quote-unquote system of the tower? But either way, I think that's about it. If there's anything else I think of to talk about, I'll talk about it while I'm reading. But really quick before I get into it, I don't remember if I mentioned this, but every 5 chapters I've been updating my screen time notes for stuff. And then, of course, once we get to chapter 700, I'll do another screen time video. But for this arc, this arc started, depending on when you want to define the start of the arc, a little before or a little after 601, but from chapter 601 to 630, I took screen time notes, and the top 10 characters so far this arc were: number 1, Traumerei. We've seen more Traumerei than any other character. Number 2 was Gaston. And number 3 was Enkidu, and that's crazy. So Bomb was not even in the top 3 characters that we've seen the most this arc in terms of screen time. We had Traumerei, then Gaston, then Enkidu from 601 to 630. Then came Bomb. Bomb was the one we've seen the 4th most amount of time, then Dumas was 5th. Outside of the top 5, you had Rack in 6th, then Kuneye in 7th. Bellarier was 8th, and surprising to me, 9th/10th was a tie between Holin and Dandorothy. I really didn't think that she had she really hadn't been around. I didn't think Dorothy was going to make top 10 because she hadn't been around for a large chunk of this arc. She just started showing up more recently, and even when she showed up more recently, she often wasn't the center of attention. So I was really surprised she actually managed to make it there. But either way, I just wanted to talk about that, bring that up really quickly in case I hadn't. I don't remember if I had brought that up the week before last, or I certainly didn't last week. So either way, with that aside, or yeah, I guess if I brought it up it would have had to have been last week. I couldn't have done it the week before last because that was 6:30. So yeah, either way, let's start reading this week. We have our violence warning, which may or may not be meaningless. Then that's it. I've had it. We have somebody yelling. I warned you. Oh yeah, I totally forgot the whole point when I was talking about them showing the evolution and revolution stuff and how that connects to this being a flashback about Traumerei sins. That might not have been an actual sin of Traumerei, the whole first part of the flashback we saw. Like, again, V made that decision. Traumerei himself didn't really do anything, but I think that might have been included as part of the flashback with going through the sins of Traumerei because it gives context to the sins and the stuff that comes after it. But here we go. I warned you. If you ignore your orders and start throwing spears around randomly again, you're in serious trouble. But it's not what you think. I wasn't just throwing spears randomly. I just needed to do something because that enemy suddenly jumped out at me. Yuring could have dealt with the enemy. She was way closer anyway. Do you have any idea how hard we worked to keep the enemies at bay while your spear attack was recharging? Come on now. Let's not fight over this anymore. We're all friends here, right? You two should just make up and put this behind you. We have V with Yirang and Edwan. Make up? Are you kidding me? This isn't the first time he's flown off the handle like this and put the rest of the team in danger. It is hard to do a flashback like this while CU is still purposefully trying his hardest to not show us certain members of the team. It does feel a little bit weird that we get these flashbacks and it's like, well, we can't show Blood Matter, we can't show Arihan, etc. Look, you both have your own reasons for doing what you did, right? So just bury the hatchet and try to get along. Bury the hatchet? I almost got killed just now. And what about me? I refuse to be on the same team as this jerk until he gives me a sincere apology and promises never to do that again. The survival of the whole team's at stake here. I agree. I don't necessarily think we have to apologize to each other just because we're teammates, says Traumerei. Huh? That's right. A leader's job is to decide who's right or wrong. Yeah, if you're going to mediate an argument, at least do it properly. Zahard, why have I suddenly become everyone's punching bag? And aren't you supposed to be the leader here? You call yourself the king, Zahard smiles. You're the one who got involved in their argument. It's up to you to resolve it. I'll let you be the leader for a little while. So, who do you think should apologize first for this? Her, obviously, right? Are you kidding? It's clearly you. Maybe Gaston will know. Putting Gaston on the spot, and Gaston's a psychopath. He's one of the worst to ask. Huh? Gaston reads a lot, and he's super smart. As the temporary leader, I'll appoint him as judge. Think of it like keeping different powers separate in a democracy, okay? I guess Four Eyes over there is better than you, at least. You're such a coward. Step aside. I want to ask Gaston. Who do you think is wrong here, Gaston? Why are you asking me? Because you're the judge. Hurry up and give us your verdict. How should I know? Because you're the judge, they both say. Sorry, Gaston. V. And then we cut ahead. Gaston walking back to camp. How many days have we wasted on that damn argument now? I haven't checked the lighthouse footage and found that they're both in the wrong, which they admitted. But does it really matter? I bet they're fighting like this because they enjoy tormenting me. Gaston. V. Good job, man. And we see the scales and some other thing. Good job, man. Do you realize how much of a headache those two have caused for me over the last few days? Where in the heck have you been while they were torturing me with their endless arguing? Here, I brought you a couple of presents. So this is where the scales and his ability to make this contract or whatever came from. Huh? What are these? Key rings? I wasn't off goofing around while I was away. I made you a couple of presents to repay you for your troubles. Here, take them, they're yours. But why? A scale and what's this? I was gonna say it looks similar to the key we saw before, but I don't think it does. The one from back at the rot, but I don't think so. It's a Jade Awakening stick. Okay, is that what the Jade translation or the Jade Dagger translation was supposed to be? It's not a dagger, it's the Awakening stick. One whack on the back of the head with this, and all your distractions disappear right away. Because I forget what the like scan translation was for it, but I always go and like watch other people's reactions who react to the scans after I do my own reaction. So I always see the scan translation when I watch theirs, and I forget what they said, but it was definitely not Jade Dagger. It didn't sound like a weapon at all, actually. So I was like, wait, where'd the Jade Dagger translation come from? So maybe this is it. One whack on the back of the head with this, and all your distractions disappear right away. Just in case anything like this ever happens again, I asked the old man from the workshop to make these for you. You asked that suspicious old man for a favor just because of this? So they did already know. They already knew about Mixeth. Also, you know, with the connections going on between what's going on with the tower, what's going on with the mechanoids, what's going on with the workshop, I thought it was interesting to note that we found the God of Guardian lookalike guy, and where we found him is in a really weird place. Wasn't in the Hell Terrain. Of course, he could have been moved there later if that was him. It wasn't in some research facility that we know of. It was in a power generator from the mechanoids. So if he is workshop, and if this is a workshop place, then it seems kind of like the mechanoids are connected to the workshop. And it's so weird because they came here before people, and it's like these people who aren't taking a test as part of Zahard's system, but are taking their tests based on the tower's system and the administrator's tests. The enemies that they keep going up against are mechanoids. It's like they're just automated forces used for testing people climbing the tower. So it just feels like the tower feels more and more, especially with the system of the tower itself and evolution and stuff, just being able to be changed like it was last time. It really feels like there is some grand physical design to the tower. There is like an actual designer or designers who planned it out and built it, and the mechanoids feel related to that. And even the workshop is starting to feel more and more related to that. And the scale here is really cool. If you confess your sins to the scale, it judges their severity for you and decides who's right or wrong. And this Jade Awakening stick is used to deal an unavoidable punishment to whoever's in the wrong. Okay, so yeah, that is what the Jade Dagger from the other week was supposed to mean then. Now that you have these, you're fully qualified to act as our judge. Why'd you make me the judge? As we keep climbing the tower, we're going to run into a lot more situations like this. You're the only person who can keep track of our mistakes and act as the group's judge. You're more interested in seeking the truth than any of us. You deserve to be the guardian of facts and truth. You're reliable, Gaston. V, do you really mean that? Anyway, thanks for all your help, and congratulations on becoming our official judge. Or are you just handing me the dirty work because you don't want to deal with it? That bloody fool. Doesn't he realize what it means when that old man makes something? They're kind of heavy. But I guess I ought to keep them. Again, what it means when he makes something. We're just getting these tiny hints without actually telling us. But I guess I ought to keep them. If that knucklehead really meant what he said about trusting me with this job, I'll have to do it. After that, I became the team's record keeper and judge. From that moment on, it was my duty to record and judge everything the team did, both great and small, and the job turned out to be far more difficult and challenging than I had expected. And then we get our title splash. Pobedal Gaston's memory fragments won. Unlike inanimate objects, No matter how many layers of a person you peel back, you can't see what's really inside them. Maybe that's why we didn't realize it at the time. Traumerei seemed so easygoing on the outside, but he was in fact closer to the brink of collapsing than any of us. Every time we made a mistake and people lost their lives because of us, Traumerei became almost obsessed with preventing mistakes next time. Look at the cute little face of... I don't know if that's supposed to be the Fandor harp or not, but the cute little face on that fish. And he had always treated animals like his friends. And this one has the Omega symbol eyes. I wonder if this is just even further in the past Kraken, or if Kraken's shape or size can just change like that. But he began giving them more oppressive and extreme orders as time went by. Traumerei's animals changed. They became mindless puppets that obeyed his every command, and yet Traumerei still wasn't satisfied. That's why, when we see this bird, he resorted to extreme measures. He ended up dabbling in a forbidden realm. Did he restore it to life, I guess? Necromancy. Necromancy is a forbidden summoning skill that traps the spirits of the dead in corpses, and turns them into beings that are both dead and alive at the same time. And this looks like... Is this Rashut? I can't tell. Because did Rashut have a necklace like that? I think hers was different. So, all of this is interesting to think about. There was something I was about to say. Yeah, the idea of the way life and death works in Tower of God is interesting, because they made it clear that Daniel on the Hell Train actually died. He literally actually died. For a long time, I thought it was just figurative. Oh, he's going to hell, he's going to the Hell Train. But no, he literally actually died, went to hell, and came back. So hell exists in Tower of God. Devils, somehow, whatever kind of devil or demon it was, and people brought up that the blue Thrissa panel we saw last time looks similar to the devil that White made a contract with. Whatever sort of devil or demon or whatever that White made a contract with also is related to hell and the afterlife. So the afterlife, people's souls and spirits, obviously with all the stuff with White, with Bomb burning the souls and everything. So souls, the afterlife, all of that stuff is real in Tower of God. And is it's just another level of stuff we have to think about when it comes to the series. Even after Traumerei dipped his toes in necromancy, he continued having dangerous ideas. And those ideas of his. And this is like we saw before, where he brought all the dead creatures into his orb. I like this jacket, though. Brought about an irreversible catastrophe in the tower. And we're skipping back to present time, or are we skipping to the next part? Do you remember the events of that record? And we have the scale. Yeah, I do. That's probably part of the memories I erased. That day, after the game ended, you went down to the waterway, and what you and your companions realized was that far more people had drowned as a result of your decision than you thought. After that, you began engaging in a type of forbidden magic, and I did see some people saying, why is it that big a deal? Yeah, he killed these people, but he only did it so that, Gustang wouldn't die, and they were like, sure, you'd kill random people you don't know to save somebody you did know, right? And I don't necessarily think that's a good line of thinking. Probably not, depending on the circumstances. You probably shouldn't, at least. But I think what's important to note here about the decision that Traumerei made when he drowned all the people, I think the important thing to realize is that the other family heads weren't going to pull the lever. The other ones were still going to try to save the people. Now, they might have ended up dying because they tried to save the people, but they were still committed to trying to save them. Like, V was going to go down there to try to help. The others were not thinking yet about, just saying, oh, well, screw it, we can kill all these random people if it saves us. But Traumerei, despite the others still wanting to save the people, Traumerei said, you might want to save them, but I want to save you. And again, it's Traumerei picking us versus them. And it used to be us as in his team versus them, people who aren't in his team. And there's a strict delineation there. We saw it with the Enkidu flashback. But then, over time, his view narrows, and to the point where Amizu is killed. At that point, he's like, okay, there's us and them, but it's not people who are part of my team and people who aren't part of my team. And we see it later on when he's talking about things with Gaston, where it's now irregulars and non-irregulars. Now irregulars are us and non-irregulars are them. And then we get to the point now where Traumerei has devolved, I guess, to a point where he killed Gaston. If Gaston didn't have some grand plan with the scale or whatever, he just died. It shows that, I think Gaston kind of let himself die to a certain degree, obviously to activate the scale stuff. But if he didn't have that plan, Traumerei still had the will to kill him. Traumerei was going for a kill shot there. And so now it's like his us was our team, and then his us was irregulars. And now Traumerei's us is so narrow, maybe even just like him and Zahard, but it's so narrow that Traumerei's even willing to kill Gaston, one of his friends, a fellow irregular. And we're just seeing how Traumerei's viewpoint and what he's willing to sacrifice and kill to protect what he considers us is just getting smaller and smaller. And then, okay, we read that. Then after that, you began engaging in a type of forbidden magic. You kept spirits that you should have returned to Shinsu in their physical form, and began commanding them as your subordinates. Okay, so when he sends out all the golden creatures at the nest, that's, I guess, the spirits of these animals, not like, again, they should have been returned to Shinsu, but he's like holding the souls in their physical form. So all of the super happy fish we saw at the nest and everything are all creatures that have died, and he's still commanding their spirits. Your selfishness resulted in the deaths of countless innocent people and caused a terrible calamity. Do you regret and repent your actions of that day? Regret and repent? I'm not sure. I know nothing of those emotions anymore. So, it's impossible for me to say how I felt at the time, and I can't force myself to feel something I don't understand now. So no, I don't regret my actions, or rather, to be more precise, I simply don't know. And he writes down, I see. I've placed your statement just now on the scale, along with your memories. The scale has spoken. It appears that the weight has shifted in favor of punishing you. A verdict has been reached. Pobedal Gaston has been granted the right to act as the judge of your wrongdoings. Accordingly, he will now be resurrected. And again, because he's being resurrected to serve as the judge of Traumerei's wrongdoing, after Traumerei is judged or punished, whether that punishment ends up actually being death or not, does that mean that Gaston returns to being dead after he, carries out the sentence? Gaston's brought back. I sort of saw this coming, but even still, I can't believe you refused your last chance. Again, Gaston gave him a last chance. Gaston considered Traumerei a friend, and as psychopathic as Gaston is, he was still giving Traumerei that last out. All Traumerei had to do, Enkidu told him, you killed Amizu, and even then, he's still denying that he does things wrong. And even now, Gaston is like, all you have to do is regret your actions, repent for the harm you've done, and he still won't do it. Gaston gave him one last chance and he still refused it. Is it so difficult for you to simply admit that you made a mistake? Why do you ask me that? You already know the answer. It isn't just difficult for us to admit our mistakes, Gaston. It's impossible. We've already risen to a position where we're higher than other lowly creatures, even when we bend down. Even if I got on my knees and apologized to them, could you really call that true remorse? What sort of genuine feelings could someone who's already on another level have toward lower beings? Now that we've become what we are, how can we possibly acknowledge our past mistakes? Just forget about it. It's already too late for us to seek forgiveness, Gaston. Besides, the world calls people like us rulers. Those lowly creatures don't care if we feel regret or remorse, Gaston. All they want is our downfall. They're just waiting for people like us to trip and fall, because if we do, they'll pounce on us and devour us like a pack of hyenas. It might seem cruel, but that's part of human nature. From the moment we reached the top, the only two options we had were to remain on top or fall to our deaths. But Zahard showed us a way to avoid falling forever. Only then were we able to resist the natural laws of the tower and hold on to our power forever. So I'm assuming he's bringing up the immortality contracts. And again, he's saying you're able to resist, to go against the natural laws of the tower. Because that's something when Goruro first explained the purpose of revolution, I've brought it up a ton, he said the purpose of revolution is that the natural order of things is that the old generation dies off and the new generation rises up. But now we see him talking about Zahard found a way for them to resist the laws of the tower and be on top forever. The old generation never dying out and the new generation never rising up because they are just immortal. And again, like, people disagreed when I was bringing it up last week, but I still think it makes the most sense that what their immortality contracts do doesn't make it necessarily so that people can't kill them. Zahard, they have explicitly told us. They've explicitly said Zahard can't be killed by somebody who isn't from outside the tower. He can't be killed from anybody that was born in the tower because of the king's contract. That is specifically the king's contract for Zahard. Now, that might also be true of the family heads, but we have not explicitly been told that the family heads can't be killed by somebody who was born in the tower. I mean, it's a long shot, because people born in the tower just really aren't that strong. They would need some rule-breaking powers at the very least. But the thing is, I think their immortality contracts made it so that they will never age, they'll never start losing their powers, because we have people like Lobanon, who's extremely powerful, one of the strongest characters we've seen, but he looks like an old man now. He's probably not what he was in his prime. We have characters like Jinsung, who even Jinsung has talked about how he's aged, and he's only a couple thousand years old. Meanwhile, we have family heads that are arguably just permanently in their prime. They never get weaker, they never age. Paradoxical though it may seem, isn't that also why you assigned that man Bellerir the ridiculous task of punishing us with this game? As you know very well, you're one of us too. You feel nothing whatsoever toward lower beings, not even the slightest remorse. That's why you gave up your position to that insignificant vermin Bellerir and entrusted him with punishing us, isn't it? Enough of this nonsense. It's a waste of time. He reaches out his hand. Let's go back to the way things were. Stop regretting things you can't take back anyway, and... No, says Gaston. Like you said, maybe I have no right to judge you. But you arrogant bastards have deluded yourselves into thinking that you can just keep flying forever. I, Gaston, hereby invoke my authority as a judge. I wish to use the Jade Awakening Stick that only the judge is permitted to use. But I do have the right to clip your wings, and he brings it out, and send you back down to the ground where those lowly creatures are waiting. I'm going to bring you down to their level. Is that good? That is, I kind of got goosebumps. Is that Gaston's idea of a punishment? Because he said he's allowed to bring a punishment because of the contract, that he died, he was allowed to be brought back and use the stick to, serve as the executioner, serve punishment toward one of the other family heads. Is it not that it's going to be an executioner in a death sentence kind of thing, But is Gaston going to somehow or another use the punishment contract or whatever to essentially strip Traumerei of godhood? And if he's stripped of godhood, then that's his punishment. He's no longer Traumerei. Again, I mentioned how his circle's been getting smaller and smaller and how he views irregulars as above non-irregulars. But if he has that godhood stripped and he becomes, for lack of a better word, like everybody else, then what does that do for a character like Traumerei? Again, I think that this is getting into some really good character stuff. Like, that feels like a kind of perfect punishment for Traumerei. Then it'll be up to them to decide what to do with you. Because at the end of the day, you and I are the same, like you said. I just can't stand the sight of you all strutting around arrogantly as though you're invincible. That's why I wanted to split up the family heads. He brings it out. And we have, again, Chinese characters surrounding it. I talked about all the different scripts and languages we've been using in the past few chapters. These are definitely Chinese characters. Like, they're used as kanji in Japanese. They're used as hanji in Korean. So they're kanji in Japanese, hanji in Korean, and I think they might be called hanji in Chinese, but I'm not 100% sure. Your downfall is the greatest punishment I could possibly inflict on you, Traumerei. I guess, do I recognize any of these? I mean, like that one maybe, but I don't recognize the others, so. That one is familiar. That looks like change, right? So yeah, I don't know what all of these are. Your downfall is the greatest punishment I could possibly inflict on you, Traumerei. Gaston, that son of a... Now let me see. He brings out all of these creatures. Just a massive panel of them. It looks like a bunch of them are the Chimera creatures. The best you can do. We have another shot of more of them behind him. And that even looks kind of similar to one of the dragons on the bottom left. Sorry, hiccup. And we have all of these angel-like creatures summoned to Gaston's side. Seraphim of Light. And they start clashing with each other. And the dragon comes toward Gaston. Something's going on. Oh, he takes the rod as like an actual weapon in his hands. That is one of the coolest weapons, maybe the coolest weapon we've seen so far in Tower of God. Again, giant panels of things happening. It looks like he's slicing straight through everything, though. What the? How is he so powerful? And again, I think it's because of the contract. He was, like, quite literally willing to give his life for the contract to get this power. And this power, it's like one of those things where it's an effect power. Not only is Gaston, like, family head strong, like, top 15 strongest in the tower, right? He's, like, number 14. Not only is he that strong, but also there's an effect of this thing specifically having downsides that he had to meet the requirements of in order to be specifically good against Traumerei here. And he hits him across the face with it. Will we have maskless present Traumerei finally? It's breaking some. Will we finally see it? He gets sent flying. We have blood left behind on the jade rod. Get up. It's about time somebody cut off those arrogant wings of yours. And again, all this like talk about cutting the wings off that he said multiple times, again, kind of reminiscent of the story of Icarus. I'm going to thrash you until you wish you were dead. Gaston. We finally get it. We finally get present Traumerei without the mask. You asshole. Okay, incredibly good chapter. I think that there's a lot of good going on here. If anything, you know what's wild? You know what's really wild? I think the weakest part of the chapter was the flashback stuff, and that is crazy. That is crazy that the flashback stuff was the weakest. Because it was kind of whatever. It was alright. The flashback stuff, it was what it was. But when we were getting back into the present, there's such good character stuff going on here. This whole play that Gaston had, again, is giving Traumerei a last chance. All Traumerei had to do when confronted with Enkidu, now when confronted with Gaston, all he has to do is admit, hey, I did some bad things. I was wrong. But instead, he's like, I'm a ruler. We're rulers. We're different from the regular inhabitants of the tower. And he still just... And again, Traumerei is being used as kind of an example of what the family heads in Zahard have been like. He's being used as an example of what Gaston said, how they just can't take credit for or can't take remorse for what they've done in the past, and they just keep walking around all arrogantly. And that's a part of what has set Gaston off. Gaston kind of internalized what V told him about being the judge between them and keeping records of the things they've done. And I've said a lot that it feels like, as of the flashback we had with Enkidu, Gaston really did... He was like, what matters is what we leave behind, not what actually happened. And he talked about, there was still that bit of Gaston left where he's like, let's not kill Enkidu because he might have some information. Let's leave him alive just in case, even though I don't really want to believe him. So he was there, and he kind of goes along with Zahard covering up history and lying, and we haven't got there yet, but I really think that whenever we learn more about the N incident in the main series story here, I think that's going to be a big part of what changed Gaston. I think the N incident, and it being related to the princess stuff, which Gaston was a big central part of, I think that's going to be part of what changed him into being like, you know what, I need to help bring the real truth to the tower, not the story we've left behind. I need people to know the truth. And Gaston had been saying, I myself need to know the truth, because he didn't have all of his memories until very recently. So Gaston kind of is taking what V said to him seriously, where he's like, okay, I need to bring the truth to the tower, and I need to hold us accountable. He wants to hold, again, why he put Bellerir in that position, because he's going to hold himself accountable too. He wants to hold Zahard and the family heads accountable for the things they've done. And, we got a little bit into one of the sins they committed here being that they're resisting the law of the tower. They're not dying off and letting future generations rise up or anything. They are holding on tightly to their power, to their position above everyone else. And again, this is something where Traumerei is being used as an example for the wider idea of the 10 family heads in Zahard, so that when we get into more family heads, we can tell different stories with each of them. But this is like our first central look at one where we've gotten deeper into Traumerei than any other, and we have gotten really deep into him as a character. Traumerei is one of the most detailed and intricately written characters in the entire series. So this punishment is perfect. It's perfect for the story that's being told with Gaston, the story that's being told with Traumerei. A big part of it has been holding on to this power, holding on to this spot above everybody else. And Gaston brings up, if I take that away from you, if I clip your wings, if you're just a regular person and it's up to other regular people in the tower to decide what to do with you, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to clip your wings. I think that feels like such a perfect punishment with the story and the character that we've been told so far. I think that all of that's incredibly well done. I think that CU did a really, really, really good job with this stuff. I feel like, again, when you're reading week to week and when you're going through some of the parts of this arc, it's not perfect. There are some issues going on in this arc, but specifically the last 3 to 5 chapters where we're really getting into the Gaston and Traumerei stuff, I think that the story that's been told between the two of them and how it relates to the other family heads at large, it's just been done really, really, really well. I think that CU did it justice here. So yeah, I guess that's there. That's all there is for me to say. I'll go ahead and end things here. Go ahead and try to edit this, get everything up for you. So thank you for watching. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this week's chapter, my first thoughts and reaction. Of course, there's probably even more to talk about, but I didn't really think of it at the moment here at the end. But subscribe for more. Comment down there if you want. If you want to talk on Twitter or Discord, I'm open to talk there as well if you don't want to talk in the comments for whatever reason. If you'd like to help support the channel by dropping a super thanks, that is really appreciated. But if you want to not just help support the channel, but also get a little something back yourself, get your name at the end of videos, get One Piece videos a bit early, then hit join down below to become a member. Go to patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or a link will be in the description to become a patron or channel member. Thank you so much to people who are already patrons or channel members. Thank you to Chosen Regular, Evan, Holly, Magical Girls, FRNO, Abyss Knight, JA, and the D-Band, Cheriton Students, David Linkstaff, and Folded Ghoul, Slayer Candidates, SG, and Stan Cedar, and Pure Element, Pate Ardialo. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you all next time.